Fracture prints your digital photos directly onto glass, making your favorite moments come alive in vivid color. Hand-assembled in the USA, Fracture glass prints are a unique and beautiful way to display and share your favorite moments. Simply upload your photo at fractureme.com, select your size, and your glass print will be shipped to you, ready to hang with just one screw. Use code POD15 to get 15% off your order today. That's code POD15 at fractureme.com.
Introducing Peacock, the new free streaming service from NBC Universal. It's hit movies, current shows, live sports, trending bits, and timeless hits. And that's why you can't not watch. Peacock. Watch for free. Upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com. Law & Order SVU streaming now.
This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and Upsnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
I used to think time was my enemy. My future wasn't looking good. So worried about the things I couldn't see. I couldn't see the things I could. I was aging fearfully, worrying my life away, when all along I should have been thankful for every day. Finally made a friend of time. Now you could say that I'm aging gratefully. Aging gratefully.
Broadcasting from the rolling hills of the beautiful Tennessee Valley, from the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains, across this amazing nation and spanning the universe, you're listening to Aging Gratefully. I'm your host, gerontologist Holly Kelly, bringing you exceptional guests and novel information to ensure you age great, live full, and embrace each extraordinary day for the incredible gift it is. Welcome, everyone, to the Aging Gratefully Show. We broadcast every Friday on the CTR network at 11 a.m. Pacific Time. Welcome to Aging Gratefully, most amazing listeners around the world. So delighted you're tuning into the show today. Thank you so much for taking the time to share one of your 168 hours a week with us. Life is busy and full, and the fact that you choose to spend one of your hours with us is truly indicative of your commitment to not only your Aging Gratefully journey, but your aspirations and desire to get the most out of life and your commitment to you. I'm so proud of amazing you and tremendously grateful to you for the global family we've become. Greetings, our amazing aging rebels in Australia, France, Germany, Norway, India, the United Kingdom, Canada, Aruba, Denmark, Puerto Rico, across the United States, and so many other glorious, wondrous places you're listening from. It makes me smile. And of course, as a loyal listener, you know what that means. So let's begin with our smiling spandemic, the only kind of demic we embrace here. Feel those grindorphins take hold. Let the feel-good neuropeptides work their magic as we settle in and gear up for another fantastic power hour of Aging Gratefully in light you meant. So wear your smile, share your smile. I remind you, it's instant mood-lifting self-care. That's free, on demand, and shareable. How about that? I feel amazing, and so should you. I'm smiling. You can hear me through the mic. So I don't know if you're listening on the go. Some of you share with me through your messages and emails that you have a routine of listening, doing so a specific day of the week. Many of you do so on Saturday. Some of you catch the show on Sunday during your personal time. Some of you share you listen while you walk or exercise, and many of you say you wait and tune in during your drive time during the week, and some during your leisure time at home. In fact, one listener shared they listen during doing housework at home on Saturdays, saying it's tradition. So that's some multitasking that's so awesome. So it seems, in spite of the array of variances, Home is a popular place to take in our aging gratefully message. They say home is where the heart is. Here we are again, referencing they, whom I find myself agreeing with so often, yet never really knowing who they actually are. They aren't always right, these figment citable source fact dealers I can never seem to pinpoint. Yet in this case, when they say home is where the heart is, well, my heart is actually in my chest. So if you call my body my home, I guess that's accurate. But that's not what that adage means. But I understand what they mean. The collective they masses, I mean. And they too, I guess. Metaphorically speaking, heart as in love, heart and soul. But does it have to be a home to feel that? The definition of the noun home, which will make this week's Aging Gratefully show dedication, by the way, is the place where one lives permanently, especially as a member of a family or household. That puts home in greater keen perspective. So now we realize that a home isn't somewhere temporary, and if a home is most ideal, it is shared among other members we wish to consider family. Maybe that's why a house doesn't feel like a home when we suffer loss and feel so lonely, when it was once filled with all that love that other members pooled inside it. Wow, this home conversation is getting serious and even deeply insightful. And maybe that's why real estate signs read house for sale instead of home for sale. Because a house is not a home until we make it one. We bring life and breathe life into our homes and humble adobes. With the heart, souls, and love we carry with us and that magnify through us. So if this is the case, can any dwelling in which we reside be considered a home? Again, a place one lives permanently, especially as a member of a family or household? They, referencing them again, say you can't pick your family, and there's even a quote I put in my book because I believe you can choose family along life's path. This is by Trenton Lee Stewart. Quote, "You must remember, family is often born of blood, but it does not depend on blood, nor is it exclusive of friendship. Family members can be your best friends, you know, and best friends, whether or not they are related to you, can be your family." It is heartwarming to know that we can acquire family along life's journey, but just like family may be in our DNA, perhaps a home isn't necessarily a dictionary definition, but instead a place where we are happy, where our heart is content, that habitat where we feel comfort and joy, where our memories are and where we look forward to creating new ones, where our peace is, the place where we feel warm and whole. Maybe we aren't surrounded by family, but there they once were. And we love being where those memories reside. Maybe our pets are with us and we love caretaking of them, and little do they know, they do the same for us. Most people are very content at home, wherever that place is that they're lucky enough to call it. Home means so much to us all. I remember being a young girl away at college, and one of the greatest things was coming home for breaks, coming down that final road and turning into that long oak tree-lined driveway, seeing my horses grazing in the fields. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. And home has changed over the years, like home does. We change home. Kids move out, and what was once home becomes a new home, and they become independent and make a home of their own. And an empty nest becomes a different twist of home. Once loud and noisy home seems more calm, serene, and your now what chapter kicks in. All very normal phases of growing older. The sandwich generation home can look like quite a lively home if it involves multi-generational living. Grams, Gramps, you and yours, and all the kids under one big, wild, chaotic roof. Never a dull moment there. And even if you wanted a dull moment, well, Good luck with that. We can move somewhere new and view our previous place as home. As we work to settle in, try to adapt and find our way in our new surroundings. And there can be a period of discomfort, a sense of unbelonging or yearning for what once was, and even wondering if we will ever feel like we once did, at home, in where we are now. It can take years. I know this because it happened to me. I saw no end to it. I only saw returning home. Then one day, unexpectedly, this place I thought would never be welcomed into my harbor of heart had accidentally become home, adding a new one to the former version. I didn't say replace, by the way, because some things are irreplaceable. Home, pets, people. So I found that with lots of time, resistance even, home can find its way into your heart when enough memories, love, and sense of serenity and security take root. But home for some is but a dream. Because of their situation, they wonder if they'll end up anywhere but home. In a nursing home facility with the rise in Alzheimer's and dementia, it's a worry for many if home will even be a viable option. They don't want to burden their children, and for some, it would even be impossible to do so. So will home always be a luxury they can count on? We don't have a crystal ball to know the future, and we know we want to always have a home. But is it possible that some will have a residence and only the lucky will have a home? I feel like I can promise my mom she'll never permanently go into a nursing home. I say permanently because remember our definition. And I realize people can go into skilled nursing facilities, rehabs for recovery, and then return home. But is this a promise I can keep? I want to believe it is. I mean, I've got her in a very good long-term care insurance policy. I know because not only have I managed home health care agencies and know how that side works, and as a licensed insurance agent, I built the long-term care insurance plan and know what a good plan is. So I've put the proper planning in place. Many of the same services and direction I offer my clients, the perks of having a gerontologist in the family, and I continue to help with good decisions regarding aging in place and universal design living for her and my papa. But there's no crystal ball, and there's a lot of what-ifs. So what about you out there? Do you too have the same concerns? Wouldn't you like to know the answers, know that home was possible all the days of your life, or for your parents? If home is really where the heart is, then that's where I know I want to be, and I bet you do too. It may not be possible for everyone, depending on their circumstances, and I realize there are amazing care environments out there. I definitely don't want to underscore that. I've been to so many, and the people living there are fortunate to live there. They're incredible, full of amenities. But for those who wish to stay at home, it's worth the conversation as to the viability of it, how to do what you can to achieve it, and of course, realizing that there may be many definitions of home. Because if home is where your heart is, well, as long as your heart is content, you may just be home, wherever you're happy. So our Aging Gratefully alphabet soup for the psyche this week is to the quote, "Home is where my habits have a habitat." And that's by Fiona Apple. Today I'm excited to welcome our expert guest that will broaden this discussion in immeasurable ways. Miralee Orsini, founder and board chair of Core Cubed, is considered a thought leader in the in-home care services industry. Orsini is the leader, creator, and host of Help Choose Home podcast, which focuses on educating the masses on how to and when to choose healthcare at home in later life. Orsini's business ownership began with a geriatric care management model in-home care agency, a venture that garnered her the prestigious Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award in 1996. She is the past chair of the Private Duty Home Care Association of America and has served on the boards of the National Association for Home Care and Hospice and the National Association of Geriatric Care Managers, now Aging Life Care Professionals. in 2017. Orsini won a Lifetime Achievement in Business Award, sponsored by the Stevie Awards for Women in Business. You can learn more about her by visiting her at www.helpchoosehomecare.com. It is with great pleasure to welcome you, Marilee Orsini, to the Aging Gratefully Show. So happy you're with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am really pleased to be here today. That was a great introduction.
Oh, thank you so much. And we are so excited. I mean, home means so much to us. So you're the perfect person for this conversation. And so we wouldn't have anybody but you have it with us. So welcome to the show. And I just want to, talk to you about, first of all, what do you have to say about people's attachment to home? It's deep, isn't it?
It is deep, but it, as you said so wisely, it definitely varies depending on the circumstances and the time of your life. But home, as I like to say it, is really wherever someone feels is home, or whatever someone calls home. So
it's intangible. Yes. And yes,
it is. And sometimes it's where you are right now, and sometimes it's where you've been at another time in your life. But
yes,
it's, special meaning, and continues to have special meaning.
Yes. And we can have many homes because when I go home, I'm going home to mom. And there's many places I call home, and that's beautiful too.
I would agree. I think
yes.
My grandchildren probably feel, they even said the other day, they feel like they have more than one home because they feel like they could come here to my house and that's their home as well. So they made me, just warmed my heart.
How lucky are we, right? It's so incredible.
Yeah.
So, but this is a very important conversation because there's a fear factor involved with the thought of a void of home. And so I really would just like to talk about that is the elephant in the room. And that is the one thing that people are really concerned about is, what can I do to make sure? I mean, that's a promise that I want to wait. I'll make this very personal. My mother is very healthy, and that's not something that any of us take for granted. And I do have, every measure possible that I could have put in place to ensure that I can allow her to age in place. If things really did change health-wise and a worst-case scenario occurred, I feel like I've done what I could to still allow her to stay at home. People worry about if something happened that they are not able to do that. And you see this all of the time in your profession.
Yes. And I will say that it really does depend on the individual's situation as to whether or not they actually can remain in their own home with care. I made the same promise you made to your mother, to my mother. And at the end of her life, or close to the end of her life, I was unable to keep that promise because of an unexpected health situation that required her to need nursing care at unexpected times. So there was no way you couldn't have someone come in and visit because we never knew when she was going to have a situation occur. So, we kept her at home for a long time, and then we did actually have to put her in a skilled nursing facility just because of her medical situation. It was too tenuous. But, today I'm not certain that we would have to do that because technology has increased to the point that we have a wonderful capability of being able to monitor people and communicate with people who are at home and avoid a lot of situations that before we had that telehealth, telemonitoring in the home probably would have caused a run to the emergency room. So I'm excited to say that and the one positive that I see from this pandemic is that care at home has become more accepted, has become some of the innovative programs that allowed people who have a higher acuity level of care and that need. That's we are now being able to care for those people at home. So that's a wonderful thing for me to report to you, and something that my generation and those past me will come to appreciate, I think.
I think the challenging times, these unprecedented times, have certainly pushed for some innovation that resulted because of it. And so that is definitely something that happened, and that is good. That is a good that came from all of the direness that we experienced. Right?
Yes, one good we can point and say, yes, this was it. So
yes, definitely. And so I think I want to talk about I definitely want to talk about something that I believe is a common misthought, and that is a lot of people think, well, I'll be okay. I have Medicare. And she laughs.
Yes. Well, you read a little bit of my bio, and when I started my professional career in aging care was with a geriatric care managed home care business. And the one question that always seemed to, the answer to the question that seemed to stun people was that Medicare question. People assume that because they have Medicare that everything will be covered. And Medicare actually covers very little in-home care. There is a robust home health program, but it is really for intermittent care, not for long-term chronic care. And there is also a hospice program that is reimbursed by Medicare. And that, of course, is for the last 6 months of your life. So, but there's a lot of time, if you're unlucky and have health issues, then there's a lot of time that is not covered. And particularly if someone has a dementia, if someone has a chronic disease that's going to be with them for a long time, those scenarios are not covered under Medicare. You very wisely purchased long-term care insurance for your mother. And that is something that is still available, and people don't understand that that really is one of the only ways that you can pay for long-term care. Because Medicare is simply not going to be there for you for any type of a long-term arrangement.
Yes, and I definitely am a believer in long-term care insurance. I will go on record and say that. And here's the thing, is that I don't know if you would agree with me or if you have seen this, but I believe early on when these plans became popular that there might have been some erroneous or false projections of how claims would go because the plans used to be very lush, very, very big, huge benefit plans. And now many of the companies that were offering these types of plans are no longer doing so. And you can't get the kind of plans that I have my parents in. They're not available.
Right. We're in the same situation. I bought a plan for my husband and me 25 years ago. And because I was in the industry, I knew exactly what I should get. And the plan is still in existence. And it once a year, they write me and they give me a wonderful
love letter
about how I should change my plan and go to another plan because it would be so much better. But in reality, the plan I have is amazing, and I would never change it because I can't imagine that there would be anything better. But I'm 74, my husband is 86, and I should knock on wood, neither one of us has had to have any kind of care that would kick in us having to use our long-term care. And of course, what you want is that you never have to use it. That would be everyone's goal, I think, to live a full and happy and active life and then die peacefully in your sleep one night.
Yes, so true. You and my mother would get along wonderfully. She aspires the same. And I will just go ahead and tell listeners a little thing that how insurance companies get rid of policyholders is this magical trick called rate increases. And so that's something that you can actually pay more to hold the rate. And that is something that I think is sometimes worth considering, because when you have a really good plan, a great way for you to not have that plan anymore is just to make it cost prohibitive for you to have it anymore. And so I saw a lot of that happening with these plans too. So anyway, definitely believe in long-term care insurance plans so that you have that peace of mind for future care. So what kinds of services need to be combined to achieve successful healthcare at home? This is definitely an area that, of course, is so sacred to you in the work that you've done and spent your lifetime, of course, just being a thought leader in.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that we all age differently. And because we do all age differently, our needs are going to be different. And it's really hard to project that. You can do as much thought about it and projection as you want to, but it's really hard because everybody needs to have some basic care. So, I mean, you have to be fed, you have to be clothed, you have to be clean, and the same with your house. And then you have ancillary needs of like having money to pay for things and keeping track of your financial resources. And then if you live in a home, there's also maintenance to the home. So you can't say everyone needs the same thing, because we all have different resources, and not only financial resources, but we have different resources in terms of our support system. So someone who has a robust support system is going to have more help from family and friends than someone who is a loner or doesn't have any family in the area. So it's really difficult to pinpoint exactly what any one person is going to need until you really do a pretty thorough assessment of where they are, what their health issues are, what the prognosis for those health issues are, how much money they have to pay for care, and what support systems they have.
Yes, very true. On the other side of break, I was hoping we have so many listeners that will have this question or have a parent that either they're worried about or who may have dementia. And so I was hoping that you could speak to them and how they might be able to help their mother or father that has dementia, just kind of walk them through the process of what their options might be for care at home or even just future planning. Would you be willing to do that?
Sure, I would love to do that.
Okay, wonderful. Don't go anywhere because this fantastic conversation will continue. Today, we're grateful to be with Marilee Orsini talking all things aging in place at home and wherever you consider that to be, and discussing why isn't healthcare at home the model. You can learn more about her by visiting her at www.helpchoosehome.com. By the way, I know you out there love our show's theme song. For new listeners, that's Jim B. Loft's Aging Gratefully, and you can find that on iTunes or Amazon Music in his album Dreams I Left in Pockets. I invite you to get the entire album and show Jim some Aging Gratefully love. And also special thanks to you out there, awesome Aging Rebels tuning in all over the world. Thank you so much for listening to and sharing the show. It is you, the amazing listener, that has made this show awarded a top 15 show on aging on the entire planet. I appreciate every single one of you. Have I told you since last week? You rock and you roll model, because you do. I'm grateful for each of you. I'm your host, gerontologist Holly Kelly, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Donald Dansby from Merritt Island, Florida, and I just love listening to the Aging Gratefully show every Friday with the one and only gerontologist Holly Kelly.
I'm a cover girl. I'm a cover girl. I'm a cover girl too, because I use CoverGirl Simply Ageless Liquid Foundation,
America's #1 anti-aging foundation brand.
Simply Ageless is skincare and makeup in one.
It instantly reduces the look of wrinkles and even skin tone.
With hyaluronic complex and vitamin C for plump skin and a healthy youthful glow.
So be a cover girl like me.
And me.
And get better skin at any age.
Try Simply Ageless Liquid Foundation.
From easy, breezy, beautiful,
CoverGirl.
The Ladder Life Planning Institute is the ultimate guidance for life's inevitable destiny and your path to passionate aging and inspirational advanced care planning. LLPI offers tools that educate, inspire, and enlighten. Live vibrantly, plan thoughtfully, age dynamically. Visit LLPI for business and individual consulting services, professional and keynote speaking, books, workshops, education, webinars, and resources. LLPI is here to transform your latter life living today. Visit them at ladderlifeplanninginstitute.com. Live extraordinary, age dynamically. Visit ladderlifeplanninginstitute.com.
A message from Virginia's Department of Health. If you're like most people, you're ready for things to get back to normal. But the COVID-19 virus is changing, and new variants are in our communities. So if you're not fully vaccinated, don't let your guard down. Continue to wear a layered mask and stay 6 feet from others. Find your free COVID-19 vaccine today. Learn more at vdh.virginia.gov or 877-829-4682.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jean Ketchum, Aging But Dangerous, and I am just so grateful I was on the show today, Aging Gratefully, and I just enjoyed talking to Holly so much, and it's just so important for all of us to get this message about aging, and Holly has so many great things to say, and I think we do too, and I'd love for you to go to our website, agingbutdangerous.com, and listen to what we've got going on. We have a lot of things coming up, and we have live videos on our Facebook page, and just lots of fun things. So thanks for this opportunity, and I just loved every minute of our interview.
Thank you so much, best listeners in the world. Welcome back to Aging Gratefully. I'm your host, gerontologist Holly Kelly, here today with our special guest, Marilee Orsini. Don't you just love her? She's the founder and chair of Core Cubed, considered a thought leader in the in-home care services industry. And I know you are so just glued to this conversation, such an important one, truly. And before we resume our conversation, I want to remind you out there that there is just so many different ways to listen to the show. I don't really know how you listen because there's so many different ways, but remember, we are on all of your favorite platforms. You can listen on your Amazon Alexa device. You have to say, Alexa, play Aging Gratefully podcast with Holly Kelly. And you also can listen on your Samsung and Amazon Fire Smart TVs, just all of the different players. By the way, this week's listener appreciation shout out is to the wonderful listener who left this review. She wrote, "This is the best podcast," she or he, "best podcast ever. I listen to it every Friday, and it gets me through my week. Love hearing from all," can't read my own writing, "love hearing from all the unique guests, and most importantly, Holly herself. Keep up the good work." Okay, so promo code, because you wrote best podcast ever, we will use promo code best podcast ever. Go to hollykelly.com. You can get my book, $10 off, Sunrises and Sunsets, Final Affairs Forged with Flair, Finesse, and Functionality. $10 off by using promo code best podcast ever through 7/31/21. Because I appreciate you for leaving that review. Best listeners in the world. Thank you so much. What a great show. And you know what else I love? Today's show. You can learn more about our guest today. And she's just doing great things. And visit her at www.helpchoosehome.com. Marilee Orsini is literally got so much life-enhancing work that she's doing in so many areas, including getting answers to the questions you have on the topic of in-home care, such as what kinds of services need to be combined to achieve successful healthcare at home, how to begin the decision-making process, including the vast array of assistive technology, which we're going to talk about that topic today because it is unbelievable what's available today that is changing the landscape of in-home healthcare. But I know that definitely such an important conversation, which is what would somebody need to do, Marilee, to help their mother or parent, somebody in their family that has dementia?
Holly, I think the most important thing and what should happen first is that the person who has a loved one with a care need with dementia actually learn about dementia. You're a gerontologist, so you know that someone with dementia is not, dealing with someone with dementia is not like dealing with someone who has a physical frailty, because we're so used to respecting our elders and, honoring them and being truthful with them. And when a dementia presents, oftentimes the person's personality changes and their thought processes change. So oftentimes they're not aware of what reality is. And taking care of someone with dementia or being around a loved one with dementia is not intuitive. And a perfect example is if someone forgets their spouse has died and is talking about, their spouse is coming for dinner or they're meeting them later or whatever, the family member generally would try to orient that person to time and place and say, oh, gosh, Dad, Mom died 5 years ago. But in actuality, if you really understand working with someone with dementia, you have to come where they are. You have to get into their space, and you have to provide love and support and gentle care, but you don't necessarily need to orient them to time and place, because someone who has forgotten their spouse dies, if you mention that to them, it can really upset them. Number one, they don't remember. It's a scary thing when you lose your spouse, and oftentimes they take the anger out on the messenger. So the most cherished child who is providing the best care oftentimes becomes mistrusted, because the person with dementia can't realize that they're really trying to orient them to time and place. They just see them as upsetting them or being dishonest. So I think that's the first thing. The other thing is a person, if someone is showing signs of dementia, I strongly recommend that the first thing that happens is that you make certain that dementia is not an irreversible one, because a mother who's been living alone, and I've actually had clients that did this, eat Twinkies all the time because that's what they like to eat. But malnourishment can cause a dementia-like state. Some medications that are used together can cause a dementia-like state. So there's lots of things that can actually, depression is another one. So first thing I would say, if your loved one is showing signs of dementia, please double check that dementia is something that is an organic dementia, something that is progressing and not something that can be fixed easily. So those are two things: learn about it, and also make certain that the dementia is really a dementia. And if it is a dementia, then some dementias progress rapidly, other dementias progress over decades. And so it's not unusual for someone to have an Alzheimer's type dementia and to live another 10 or 12 years. Eventually the disease will kill them, but it's not a rapidly declining disease like some other ones. So those are the biggest things, I think, if you want to care for someone with dementia at home. Again, once you know everything that you need to know about it, you can better plan how to have your loved one feel safe and feel secure and feel comfortable. And that generally means making the environment one that is suited to them, not suited to anybody else. So people with dementias oftentimes like to wander. So you have to make certain they're not going to wander out of the house, that they, because oftentimes they get their nights and days mixed up. So there's a lot of care needs that can be specifically suited to someone with dementia that families can easily do, but it really does take education and working with people who have specialties in that. So I want to mention there's a trainer named Teepa Snow, Teepa, Teepa Snow, who does a wonderful series on working with caregivers who have the person they're caring for has dementia, and lots of practical tips, lots of good advice, and she does a lot of work to try to educate about that.
Yes, familiar with her work, and I also early in, long ago, I know of Naomi Files' work in working with Alzheimer's and dementia patients too. I had the pleasure of actually being able to meet with her and just watch some of her early work. So yeah, I think, and we've been able to learn so much, and yet there's still so much to learn.
Yes, and I had the same experience with Naomi, so that she was absolutely fabulous, and I considered that an honor and a wonderful thing to add to my self-education.
Oh my, she's an incredible performer. Well, when she presents, she just comes to life. She's like a one-woman theater. It's incredible. Just love her. So, yes, just excellent advice and that you're sharing here. Assistive technology is incredible, but technology is definitely, helping so many areas. But can you talk about how it is helping meet the demand for in-home care?
Well, right now, there's a lot of people entering the space, and the biggest thing that's happening right now is just because we have the phone capacity, so the cell phones and iPhones and Galaxies or whatever that are smartphones, you do have the capability to use apps that can connect you. And I think that's the biggest thing, particularly during this pandemic, having an iPad or a connection with not only family members, but also with care staff. I mean, a lot of the home health agencies and the care at home agencies have really made use of just simple technology. Then there are peripherals that can be added on. So for instance, you can have a continuous glucose monitoring system that you can wear that your cell phone actually reads the readings, read your glucose readings. So that information can be linked up to a healthcare provider. So the healthcare provider can really notice what the trends are and can then discuss what dietary changes should be made or what types of activity should be added in to someone who has diabetes. COPD is another one. COPD, there's so many times when someone has a reaction and needs to go to the emergency room or thinks they need to go to the emergency room. And sometimes if you can intervene at that point in time before it gets so bad they have to go to the ER, then you can get them calmed down and avoid that visit to the ER. There are other systems. I mean, you can go all the way from just using cell phones to monitor and talk to complete homes that are set up that have motion sensors and other types of devices. So, for instance, if in my situation, if I have a routine, say I get up in the morning and I go out to get the newspaper, then if I don't open that door to go out and get the newspaper, then the system alerts someone that has happened. Same with the refrigerator. If I don't open the refrigerator in the morning to get something out of it, then it's obvious that I'm not performing as I would on a normal day. So any type of device that you can imagine is available today, and there are new ones coming up all the time. I mean, there's even shoes that you can purchase that have the Alzheimer's wandering devices in them, so that
it's unreal.
If I got out, it is. I get out, so I leave the house, and as long as I got my shoes on, then someone can track me down if I've wandered out into the neighborhood. So honestly, it's really astounding. But I think the biggest thing about the technology now is that it's becoming so user friendly and so easy that anyone can use it. I just bought a emergency medical alert system for my husband and me because, so that if something were to happen, I'm a big wanderer in the woods, and he's having some mobility issues. So in both of those situations, it seemed to me that if we had a button I could push and all of a sudden I'd have help, that would be something that would, and it's not very expensive. So we have just done that in the last month, and And so now when I'm out in the woods, because it is bear season here, I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, so I'm in the Great Smoky Mountains, and we have about 8,000 bears around here.
Wow.
So anyway, so not only can you use them to stay at home and be safe, but you can also there's lots of technology that can just keep us safe in general.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And the innovation is just really taking off, and new stuff coming into the market just all the time. Let's talk intergenerational living. I mean, I grew up watching the Waltons, and so, we are certainly a geographically displaced society, but I feel like that we're seeing hints or maybe even a yearning for some to return to the Waltons concept of either, intergenerational or multi-gen living. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that and what you're seeing there.
Well, and from a personal perspective, my thoughts on that are more power to us who are doing that. I moved to Asheville, North Carolina. I bought the house here 7 years ago, but the reason is I have 2 sons here and 4 grandchildren. And currently, and both sons are within walking distance of where I live. So we are doing a lot more together in terms of just activities. Their father, who I'm not married to anymore, but their father's also moved here. So it's like we have the entire extended family is here.
Yes, how nice.
It is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And I am seeing this happen more and more. I had a call from a longtime colleague recently who is not in bad health, and her husband's not in bad health either, but she was thinking that she really needed to make a move. It was time for her to move into an assisted living facility or something, so when she did need care, she would have it. But she doesn't have any children where she lives. And so my advice to her was, as long as you're healthy and make plans, definitely I suggested that she go ahead and contact a geriatric care manager and talk to that care manager about what her plans are, and know that there are actions she may need to take down the road, but not to go ahead and uproot herself and move someplace where she doesn't know anyone, and go ahead and live her life to the fullest, the way that she is now and how she's enjoying it. Because, the reality is none of us knows what's going to happen to us, what will cause our death. So, as I said, we could die peacefully in our sleep, or you could get hit by a car, or you could get stung by a bee. There's all kinds of things that can happen that are not in your plans. If you do have a disease that is progressive, that's different. But having family around and having an extended family, I think if you go back to your first question to me, we talked about the need for a support system. And that's really one of the reasons I moved to be around my children, is I felt like I would have more support, and I do. I try not to ask them for too many things, but I do have more support, and I have advocates too. So if something, if a health situation does arise, I will have advocates that are here, and I have people that will help take care of me. And I just can't imagine anything better than being around your loved ones when they are in that period from frailty to death. So I'm a big cheerleader for families getting together, and I see it as something trending in the country.
Yes, and I think that's wonderful. So, healthcare at home, the model, that's something that you definitely would love to see. And that, certainly I think a lot of people would follow, in wanting that as well. What are the obstacles there, and is that possible?
Well, the biggest obstacle is money, and yes, it is completely possible. I mentioned the geriatric care managers, who now call themselves aging life care professionals, and they are an organization that really does understand the needs of aging and also understand the care possibilities. So the biggest obstacle is money, as I said, because right now we don't really have a system that provides for long-term care in America. And so, but if you do have enough money, you can actually put together that system, and a care manager can certainly help someone do that. The other obstacles are we talked about dementia a little bit. There's really two different types of aging. One is aging where you have a disease or frailty, and the other is aging where you have dementia. And the care for both of those is completely different, because oftentimes people with a dementia have fabulous physical capabilities. They don't have any frailties. They just don't have a mind whose synapses are actually sending the right messages around. But someone and so it's really easier to take care of someone who has a physical frailty. It's also easier to know with a physical frailty what the next steps are and what you're going to have to do and how do you prevent those. But there are all types of community resources to help people. And if you do want to stay at home, I would start with the geriatric care manager first, but I would also really just explore what types of services are available in the community. There's Meals on Wheels, there are handyman services. There's all types of services that are generally available in communities through churches, through community centers, through the area agencies on aging. So, but once you know that you have a situation where care needs are present, then the hard part is doing the research, is really figuring out what should I do, what's in the best interest of my loved one, and how can I put together care. As I mentioned earlier, one of the blessings of this pandemic, another blessing has been that home care has really come of age. Because people didn't want to go into a congregate setting, they actually have been learning how to provide better care at home and a higher skill level of care at home. There are innovation projects out of CMS, out of the Medicare services, that are looking at hospital to home models, SNF to home, skilled nursing facility to home models, so that the patient can actually be cared for in the home, paid for by Medicare, with nurses and with home health aides, and avoid a hospitalization or avoid a nursing home stay. So we're on the right path in terms of what we're doing policy-wise nationally to make care at home more available, more affordable, and actually better for anybody as they're getting older.
So incredible. So, I mean, as complicated as this is there like a specific place that people should look to in their communities if they have questions? Is there like, one place that people should call, or do they?
Again, because everyone's situation is different, there's not really a one-size-fits-all answer, but there are several. Many communities, if there's a teaching university, have a geriatric evaluation and treatment clinic, which is, if you have one in your community, avail yourselves of it, because it really generally can answer so many questions. The government runs an elder care locator number to help you with questions. Then again, I go back to the Aging Life Care Professionals. That they are national. You can find one. It's not that expensive to hire one to come and do an assessment and to actually help you with a plan of care, or at least some options for what your care options might be. So, but I wish there were one number. We've known for, goodness, I want to say 30 or 40 years now that the baby boomer population was getting older and was going to tax our resources when they got to the point where they were needing care. And so we are now into that about 10 years, I think. And the numbers are just astounding. So I wish there were a number, but I don't have a one answer for that.
Isn't that interesting, though? But we're doing the best we can, right, at this point. So anyway, I just have. There's a lot of different
Because
numbers.
There's a lot of people working on trying to solve that issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so many different issues and so many different circumstances, it would be difficult for there to be one catch-all.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's and honestly, you probably know as many people who've lived to be 100 and we're still running marathons as you have people who live to be 100 and we're had a dementia and we're in a nursing home. So
Yes.
there's just not a way to tell what our needs are going to be as we get older.
Mm-hmm.
Or a good way. There's some clues, but not a really good way to know exactly what we're going to need.
Well, it's been an amazing and such an educational and insightful hour with you. We've just really appreciated so much depth and direction that you've given us about this entire topic. Just really appreciate it and just so thoroughly enjoyed it. So the last question of the show, of course, we want to know, Marilee, how do you age gratefully?
How I personally age gracefully, I spend a lot of time out in the forest, tree hugging and forest bathing, and really enjoying the fresh air and being active. And lately, I've actually been on a very interesting journey to try to understand how my body can better react to foods that would be healthy for me and not detrimental. And so that's been I've been doing that for 60 days now with a group here in Asheville, and it's been really interesting. And I am seeing I'm having personal training a couple of days a week, and I'm really monitoring what it is that goes into my body. And so I feel younger today than I did 5 years ago. So I am aging gratefully daily and grateful for the capacity to be able to do that.
That is so cool. I'm really delighted that you shared that. So wonderful. And that you are just taking such care of you and trying new things. And that's amazing. You're youthing. So that's awesome. So thank you so much. We have enjoyed this hour. Thank you so much for the wisdom and all the work that you're doing to make the world a better place for us all.
Thank you, Holly. And I look forward to our paths connecting again. This was great.
It's been wonderful. Thank you so much. You've been listening to Aging Gratefully. I'm your host, gerontologist Holly Kelly. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've enjoyed our message, I invite you to subscribe and share it with others. May you remember to never act your age, and that age is just a number. And may you enjoy and embrace the coming week in the spirit of gratitude. Until we meet again, here's to living your best life now.
I used to think time was my enemy. My future wasn't looking good. So worried about the things I couldn't see. I couldn't see the things I could. I was aging fearfully, worrying my life away, when all along I should have been thankful for every day. Finally made a friend of time. Now you could say that I'm aging gratefully. Aging gratefully.
If you have a family relying on your income, you need life insurance. But finding the best quote shouldn't take a lifetime. That's where Policy Genius comes in. In minutes, Policy Genius could save you 50% or more simply by comparing quotes from America's top insurers. Once you apply, the Policy Genius team handles all the paperwork and red tape. To save on life insurance and get protection for you and your family, head to policygenius.com today.
Has it been a while since you flipped that thermostat from heat to cool? Turn to the experts at Griffith Energy Services before you do for an $88 AC start and check to make sure your AC is in tip-top shape. Griffith specializes in Carrier, but services all brands. Visit GriffithEnergyServices.com today. Your local Carrier expert. That's GriffithEnergyServices.com. License number MD-HVACR01-2278.
Griffith Energy Services. Doggone dependable.